Hello, my name is Heinz Araque and this is my video for Milestone 1 initial deployment. So first of all, let me begin this video by explaining more or less the issues that I've been running into. So my application is a fitness business application that basically what it does, it just kind of like keeps and manage a business, and I choose kind of like the fitness industry because I'm very passionate about exercising and working out and all this stuff. So coming back to my code, and my code is that first of all, when I was trying to deploy in Heroku, my first issue is that every time you create a server or a service here, and you try to deploy, the service basically will create a port that will host your application, right? So the issue I start running into is that, first of all, that I didn't notice is that, so you can see I have a main folder with its own package.json, and I have an API folder with an old package.json, and a client folder, which is the front end, with its own package.json, right? So the first issue I was running into before I had proc file and foreman is that when I try to deploy, Heroku will deploy the branch that I choose. In this case was that, but now everything is running fine. But it will run this package.json. It will install these dependencies. However, it will not go into the subfolders and install the dependencies that each folder requires in order to run, right? So my first approach was to write a code kind of here, utilizing concurrently that, for example, here a start, and then I was gonna run things like start is a command that Heroku will look for to start the application. If that script is not there and you're not using format and a proc file, Heroku will simply not work. It will not start. So what I did is that in this start, before it created a whole application, I was cd into client and cd into API and installing the dependencies. Now I was running into another issue, is that each of my folders have an express server, right? So I have an express server here that will give me my own port here. This is for the API, and I have an express server here in client that will give me another port. So the issue I start running into is that my Heroku was deploying the application, the first part of it, and then it will have an issue because it was trying to use the same port number for both express servers. After a while of trying to find out an answer I couldn't find, my professor Chapman helped me, and he basically explained to me that when running this proc file, and just so you know, this web is mandatory. If, for example, the first time I use this, I tried to use client and it will not run, so you have to use web. The first time I used the profile, I used client, and it wasn't working. So what I did is I went to using start, and I was kind of like into the same loop. I couldn't find an answer, and then we went to web, and what we did is that with the help of Chapman, we basically went here, and in each script before, so you can see here that is running client and running API. You see here, it's gonna go into the folder and it's gonna install the dependencies, and then it's gonna run it's gonna node-mon, and then it's gonna run the API. And same with with what's it called, with a client. It will install the client, and then it will run that file. So that was when I solved it. So after that, we just come here. We selected the branch that we're going to be using for deploying. In this case, I'm in my apps fitness app stage. So I click deploy. I can just click deploy. It will start creating all the the environment for this application. I'll give you a more detailed version of it, and at the end of it, then like it worked. This is like a starting process with an npm run client, and then it's gonna try to install here all the dependencies for client, and then it's gonna run the client. And the good thing about the profile is that I don't know the magic behind it, but it will create two different ports for each environment. So for example, here it create this port number for this environment. I think this is for client. And if we go here to, maybe it's afterwards, it will create another port for the API as well, which I'm still waiting, because probably at this point it's trying installing the dependencies for the API. That's why it's taking so long. But at the end, I was able to, as you can see, I was able to launch the application as it is, as I came from Project Milestone1. Now I have to start figuring out how to, first of all, because for example, this is my client or my web, and then my is running here, and then my API, where it's like I take all the information from the database, is running on a different port, but I think it's under the same URL, right? So if we go here to my file, I kind of like figure out how to do it. So here in app and utils, I'm using Axios, and here in Axios you see that I'm using either localhost 4000, which is my API node server, Express server, or I can use process, no, not this one. Maybe I can use process of API underscore URL, which this part is a little bit fussy. I need to start like testing it out and see if it works. But that's how I managed to fix my issue. So if we go here to the let's see. Here it is. So you see, no, this is client. So, let me see if we already finished around here. Oh, we did play. Okay. So if we click here, view, here we go. So thank you very much. This is my text summary video. I hope it can help any future student that comes here and is running into the same issue about having an API and a client in the same folder with its own server, and hopefully it will help them to use the profile, which apparently does some magic, and it will create those two port numbers. So thank you very much, and goodbye.